Good afternoon, period 9. I had to be out at a math meeting, so we're going to try this again, and hopefully it goes well. So go ahead and do your warm-up. Hit pause so you have some time. I'm going to start right away and solve. So because we're doing addition right here, I just have to combine my like terms. So 4g squared and negative 3g squared gives me 1g squared. Negative 5g plus 8g is positive 3g. 10 plus negative 12 is negative 2, and I'm done with my quadratic trinomial. Next, I have subtraction. So I'm going to insert the 1 and add the opposite, so I distribute the negative 1. That makes this a negative 2b cubed, a negative 2b squared, and a positive 6b. The first trinomial, that's a cubic, stays the same. And now I just combine my like terms. So negative 5b cubed and negative 2b cubed is negative 7b cubed. Negative 7b is paired with 6b, but I forgot the negative 2b squared, so that should come next, even though there's nothing to add to it. So minus 1b, or just minus b, and then I have the plus 2, and I'm done. So I have a cubic polynomial. Here are your homework answers. So if you want to pause to take a look, go ahead. I'm going to continue. And today we're going to work on multiplying polynomials, not dividing, just multiplying today. So take out your note packets and we will begin. All right, so we are multiplying today. And in the first unit, we learned how to multiply. Oh, let me get my pen situated. Okay, so in our first unit, we learned how to multiply 3x squared times negative 5x to the fourth. We use the commutative property because we know the coefficient 3 and the variable x squared, there's multiplication between there. And the negative 5 and x to the fourth, there's multiplication between that coefficient and variable 2. So using that commutative property, we did 3 times negative 5 times x squared times x to the fourth. Negative 15 times, well, x squared times x to the fourth is just x to the 6. So we get negative 15x to the 6. So we don't have to do all those steps every single time we multiply, but that's what we're doing every single time. So here we go. We're going to use the distributive property, which we used last year in 7th grade. So we're using the distributive property. We have 3x times 5x plus 3x times 6. Once again, we use that commutative property and do 3 times 5 is 15. X times x, I add the exponents and get x squared. Plus 3 times 6 is 18x. And I'm done. I can't combine 15x squared and 18x because they aren't like terms. Next, I'm going to multiply negative 5y squared and distribute. So I have y times negative 5y squared plus negative 4 times negative 5y squared. And I get negative 5 because there's a 1 here. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. Y to the first times y squared, I add y to the third. Negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20, y squared. And I'm done. The next one, I'm going to distribute the a squared. And I'm not going to write out that middle step anymore. I think you've got it. So 1a squared times 1a squared is 1 times 1 is 1. And then add the exponents, a to the fourth. A squared times negative 7a. 1 times negative 7 is negative 7. A squared times a, remember there's an exponent of 1 there, is a to the third. All right, why don't you try the next 3 on your own and hit pause. I'm going to keep going and do them, so hit pause and try them on your own. So I distribute the 2x, and I'm going to get 8x cubed minus 2x squared plus 4x. The biggest mistake I see is people forgetting the 1 on that exponent. So 1 plus 2 is how I get the 3. 1 plus 1 is how I get the x squared. And then x times there's no x's, just x here. The next one, negative 8y distribute. I get negative 16y cubed plus negative 24y squared plus 40y. Same idea, there's a 1 here, so I have to add those exponents. The last one's very tricky. So I have a negative 1ab, and I'm distributing that. So this negative 1 times 2 is how I get negative 2. A times a is a squared. B times b is b squared. So I'm using the commuted property to multiply those common bases. Now negative 1 times the negative 1 is positive 1. A times a is a squared. B, and there's no b, so just b. And the last term, negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. A times no a's is a. And b times b is b squared. And I'm done. Notice the exponent here is a 1 on this a. If I wanted them both to have an exponent of a 2, which I don't right now, but if I did, I would have to have parentheses around the whole term and then a squared outside. And that would give both of them an exponent of 2. All right. Next, we're going to talk about multiplying binomials. In high school, a lot of students use this acronym called FOIL. I'm not a huge fan, but if you hear it, I'll make sure I refer to it at least once or twice in this video. All right, so how do we multiply binomials? We actually have to distribute twice. We're going to take this negative 2x and distribute it to the 3x and the 4. And then we're going to take the 5 and distribute it to the 3x and the 4. So it just gets confusing trying to keep track of everything. So I like using this box I have over here. I put one binomial on the top, including the sign. And then I put the other binomial going vertically with the sign. And now I've made a little multiplication matrix, and it makes everything very easy and lined up and organized. So 3x times negative 2x is negative 6x squared. Remember, I have that 1 and the 1 there. I add. 4 times negative 2x is negative 8x. 3x times 5 is 15x. 5 times 4 is positive 20. Notice I have like terms of 15x and negative 8x. So when I write my result of my multiplication, I have negative 6x squared plus 7x plus 20, and I'm done. That's all there is to it. So I'm going to require you to make the boxes yourself. So let's make another one. So I have 2a minus 3. Notice I have that negative with a 3 there. And 5a minus 6. 5a times 2a is 10a squared. Don't forget that squared. 2a times negative 6 is negative 12a. 5a times negative 3 is negative 15a. Negative 3 times negative 6 is positive 18. Combine like terms. Notice I have negative 12a and negative 15a. So I start with my quadratic term of 10a squared minus 27a plus 18. Why don't you try one? So hit pause and try the next one on your own. I'm going to keep going. So I have negative 6b minus 4 and negative 2b plus 3. That gives me 12b squared plus 8b minus 18b minus 12. So my answer would be 12b squared minus 10b minus 12. The next one's really tricky. A lot of people just want to say 9p squared plus 4, but it's not. Because, let me make a little more room here. Whoops. All right. If I make my box 3p minus 2, 3p minus 2. I do get the 9p squared, and here's that positive 4 that some of you might have went ahead and found. But look at, I hope you're paying attention. David, are you working ahead or paying attention? Stay with me. Negative 2 times 3p is negative 6p. 3p times negative 2 is negative 6p. So please, once again, if you're working ahead, look up here. We have two terms that need to be added together. So we end up with 9p squared minus 12p plus 4. So there is that middle term. Okay? All right. So we're now going to use this box idea to help us with multiplying polynomials. So instead of having that square, I need to have a rectangle. I'm going to have the binomial here and the trinomial here. So those of you who know what FOIL is, the first, outer, inner, last, FOIL doesn't work for a trinomial times a binomial. So this is why I like the box a lot better. So we have 2x times 4x squared, 8x cubed. Remember, there's a 1 here. Right here, I'm going to have negative 20x squared. Here, I have negative 6x squared. Here, I have 15x, negative 2x, and positive 5. Notice I have like terms, 2 sets of them. So 8x cubed minus 26x squared plus 13x plus 5. Why don't you try the next one on your own? Hit pause. I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to draw the same rectangle. And I have x minus 2 as my binomial, and 5, positive 3x, and a negative x squared. So this is 5x, negative 10, 3x squared, negative 6x, negative x cubed, and positive 2x squared. So I'm going to start with negative x cubed. Next I have plus 5x squared. Next I have negative 1x, or just negative x. And lastly, negative 10. So I have a cubic polynomial. Okay. Hit pause if you want to look these over a little more. If not, we can keep on going. Okay, so sum and difference pattern. There's nothing new here. I'm still doing the box method if I like to do these. Or some of you might be getting good enough where you can just look at them and draw these little arrows and figure them out. That's fine too. Whichever method that works with you, excuse me. So 4x times 4x is 16x squared. 4x times 2 is 8x. 4x times negative 2 is negative 8x. 2 times 2 is negative 4. What do you see? Hopefully you see opposites here. We have 8x and negative 8x. So there is no middle term. It's gone. And that's always going to happen. Let's look at the next one. 5x times 5x is 25x squared. 5x times negative 3 is negative 15x. 3 times 5x is positive 15x. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. That middle term is gone because I have those opposites. Okay? So I promised you I'd tell you what FOIL is, and I totally forgot, so I'll do it right now. So that acronym FOIL is first, outer, inner, last. It's using the same idea of the box. So first would be the 7x times 7x, which is 49x squared. Outer is 7x times 4. It's the outer terms, so that's the 28x. Inner is negative 4 times 7x, so negative 28x. And last would be that negative 4 times 4, which is negative 16. So it's the same thing as the box method. It's just a different acronym, but it only works for a binomial times a binomial. So combine like terms, I have 49x squared and then minus 16. Take a moment and observe those 3 answers. You should see 3 things. Pause if you want more time to think, but I'm going to go over them. The first thing you should notice is there's no middle term. They're all binomials. Second thing you should notice is they all have subtraction in the middle. Third thing is that all terms are perfect squares. Even the x. Look at 16x squared is a perfect square. X squared is a perfect square. Oops, look at that. I forgot my square here. Okay. All right. Moving on. Next, we have square of a binomial pattern. This also has some really cool things. But we're going to start off just by making our boxes. Most common mistake is for people to do this. X squared plus 16. No, that is incorrect. So if that's you, if you're moving ahead on me, erase it. Pay attention. Stay with me. So we're going to draw our box. X plus 4. x plus 4. So x times x is x squared. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 4 is 16. So we have x squared plus 8x plus 16. See? So if you went ahead, you probably forgot the 8x. I hope you didn't, but you might have. Next, we have 2x plus 3 and 2x plus 3. So if you got this, go ahead, but make sure you come back and see the answer and check your work so you have the same thing as me. So we should have 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. So feel free to hit pause if you want to do more. I'm going to keep on going. So 3x minus 4, 3x minus 4, 9x squared minus 12x plus 16. 9x squared minus 24x plus 16. And the last one in this little set, 5x minus 2, 5x minus 2, 25x squared minus 10x plus 4. So I get 25x squared minus 20x plus 4. Take a moment and look. Do you see any patterns? Pause if you want more time to think. The patterns are the first and last terms are all perfect squares. The second thing you should notice is that middle term is very easy to find. All you do is you multiply the two numbers they give you and double it. So 2x times 3 is 6x. I double it and I get 12x. And that works every single time. We'll go over that some more next week when we talk about factoring, but just something to notice. All right, so we're going to do just one more. We're going to save the one on the right for Monday, but the one on the left we're going to do right now. This is what you're going to see on the regions. You're not just going to see one multiplication problem or an addition problem. They're going to combine things. So on the one on the left, we first have to multiply x plus 2 squared. We can't distribute the negative because of order of operations. So we're going to multiply out x plus 2, which I want to remind you is not x squared plus 4. It's x squared, and then we have 2x and plus 4. So it's x squared plus 4x plus 4. All of that is in parentheses, a negative in front, minus 5x plus 3. I'm going to distribute that negative, which just makes everything negative because it all was positive. I knew that plus there, I just happened to write it by mistake. And now I'm going to combine like terms. So negative x squared minus 9x minus 1, and I'm done. All right, so feel free to take a look at that longer if you need to. And here's your exit ticket. Explain why the following would be incorrect. Hit pause so you have some time. The reason it's incorrect is because it's missing that middle term. So I do 2x minus 3 and 2x minus 3. I get 4x squared plus 9 is here, but I also have negative 6x and negative 6x. So it's missing negative 12x, which should be right in the middle there. So 4x squared minus 12x plus 9. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. And this will be on Google Classroom, so feel free to watch it again on Google Classroom. All right, bye.